Welcome. Today I'm going to talk about chard. It's one of my favorite things to grow. It is just, you can grow an abundance of chard and you don't need that much space. It's a wonderful vegetable that is a leafy green, and you can put it in stir fries, you can make chard cakes, you can actually freeze this as well for the winter, for stews or some special meals. In this video, I'm going to go over how to grow chard, how to harvest chard, some of my tips and tricks to growing chard. I'm also going to talk about what I have in this bed that you can grow with chard. So let's get started here. It's a leafy green that you can enjoy large, or you can enjoy when they are just little itty bitties, kind of like beet leaves when you would eat beet leaves when they're really small. You can have chard leaves when they're really small, and then you can also enjoy them at this size. Now, a lot of people wonder, like, can you eat the whole thing? Great question. You can absolutely eat the whole thing. I usually cut chard and I use the leafy green parts for stir fries, and then you can actually pickle the stems, or you can actually cut the stems up in really small chunks and add it to anything. So the whole plant can be eaten and it all tastes good. So you can see here that I already started cutting some chard over the summer that we were using in stir fries, but there's a lot of chard here to be eaten, folks. So I am going to talk about how you should prune this. Now, what you should do here is, you can see that this leaf is just having a little bit of a hard time. This leaf, you do want to keep harvesting your chard to make sure that it doesn't get moldy and wet, and then the rest of your chard gets wet. So what I'm going to suggest here is go around your chard and cut all of these off. Cut all of the ones that maybe have some mildew on them, have some holes that those beautiful microorganisms have been eaten. Maybe you have something that is getting into your garden, you're wondering what it is. They love chard. So it is really, really important to check it out. And oh my God, I just noticed, oh wow, here's a great part of this video. Oh my gosh, this is why you have to look at your chard, folks. Check this out. Didn't even know. Aphids. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. That leaf looks stunning from far away, but it is full of aphids. So this is a great lesson, folks. It didn't hurt the plant. I still have a lot of chard that we just harvested, and I'll show you to you in a second here. But this is what will eat your chard if you don't harvest and you don't prune properly. So let's talk about this. Let's get into some pruning. Let's talk about aphids for a second too, because you can see this chard is full of aphids. Now, I am not mad, because you know what? This bed should probably be full of aphids, but it's not, because the birds have eaten the aphids. The birds come and they eat it. The ladybugs come and eat it. So this is actually nutrients, and I am just embracing the wildlife that's in our garden. And you know, I think the birds have really done wonders this year. Okay, woof! Now that we got that aphid sucker out of here, let's talk about chard. So, do I have aphids anywhere else? I mean, I have not seen it. So I might have caught it early. Now you want to try to catch those aphids early. Do not treat anything. Do not put anything on your vegetables. Just simply remove that leaf and just put it in the compost. You know, don't put anything in your vegetable garden that's going to hurt the soil. It's going to hurt Mother Earth. Okay? All right. So let's see here. We have some really big leaves here that I'm going to start harvesting. Like this one right here. That guy's pretty big. I'm going to go all the way to the base and get as much of the stem as possible. We need to create airflow here, people. So some of this chard has some holes in it, and you can just cut around it or add it to your compost. Chard leaves are so good for your compost. They bring a lot of nutrients to your soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little close up here. Okay, see this beautiful stem right here? We are going to cut this off. It is ready to be harvested. Now you're going to want to go as low as you can to make sure that you get all that beautiful stem that you can eat. Okay, that is how you will want to harvest your chard. You can see here that there are some baby leaves right here that I want to leave in here. So this will grow bigger. Don't cut your whole chard plant out. Don't rip this whole plant out. Just keep pruning, keep eating what you want to eat, and these will continue to grow. This little guy right here, they will continue to grow, okay? And then you can have them for a few more months. And then I also plant chard in the winter. I overwinter chard. It is one of the wonderful vegetables that allows us to do that. So I'm going to plant new chard soon, which I'll show you how to plant chard. And but right now we are going to harvest and we are going to eat this delicious chard. I'm gonna divide two piles here on the ground when I'm harvesting the chard. One is the chard that we're gonna eat. The other is the ones that may have a little bit too much mold on them or something has eaten it. So I'm gonna put that in a different pile. And I just put two piles on the grounds to make sure that I don't mix them up. I also will just sometimes just cut off what has gone moldy, and sometimes half the leaf is still amazing. You just eat that. Okay, here's a good example of a little bit of mildew is on this leaf here, if you can see. Now, I am going to just harvest this right now. Oh, here we go. Let me show you. Okay, see that? I am not gonna throw away this whole chard. I am gonna eat everything. I'm just gonna cut this little piece out. So please don't throw away chard if you have a little bit of mildew from it being too close together because we haven't harvested fast enough. Just cut that part off and eat the rest. Okay, now I want to show you what I have planted in the chard bed here. What is a good companion plant? Beans is really great for chard. I did some cosmos, as you'll see. I always love adding flowers to the vegetable garden. I think you should add flowers to every single bed. It brings the pollinators and it just makes a beautiful pop of color in your garden. So I want to talk about beans. I don't know if you noticed, but I actually had beans sneakily growing beside the chard. Now this chard was way over the beans. It hasn't had much sunlight. So this was a bit of a trial this year. But as you can see, we have 4 or 5 beans. We have some more flowers. So now that I'm going to start eating this chard over here, we're going to make some sunlight for the rest of the beans to grow. And we are at the beginning of August here, so we have time for them to grow. So you can plant some plants in between your chard. Don't be afraid to plant things. Maybe the spacing is a little bit tight, but in my opinion, I think it's great to have abundance of food, and just make sure that you are pruning around everything so that you can actually have sunlight get to all the vegetables. Oh, it's just beautiful when everything is just growing together. Like, look at this. We have some beans here. Now, this was just wasted real estate right here because it's very close to the cosmos and the chard needed room to grow. So I am not afraid to plant a few things in between the chard to make sure that you are getting as much food as possible. Okay, we started with the good stuff. We started with harvesting. Now let's talk about how we plant chard, when we should plant it, what seeds we use. So let's get started. Today is chard planting day, so I have this bed here all ready to go for our fall planting. It is actually mid-August here. We're in zone 9B, so definitely check out which zone you're in so that you know when you should plant chard. But usually we plant chard from spring until mid-August because this is going to be a beautiful harvest in the fall, and you can actually overwinter chard. So half this bed will overwinter and we will enjoy some beautiful chard in the springtime. So let's talk about the different types of seeds that we use. Okay, first up is the peppermint chard. We love planting with West Coast seeds. We're going to be planting this beautiful baby. It is so vibrant in your garden. You're going to absolutely love this one. And it's something different. You know, you don't always see pink stems in the garden. The other one is the rhubarb chard. It is nice, beautiful, rich red leaves. Both of these are wonderful for overwintering, and you can plant them between spring to mid-August here. Another one that I've done before is rainbow chard. So you can choose to do that. Brings in some more color into your garden. But again, look at your seed packets, figure out what is the best time to plant in your zone. So first up, I'm actually going to put the irrigation where I want it to go. I'm going to put it in the exact rows and the spacing that I need. I love this type of irrigation, the small tubes, because I can manipulate it. Crop rotation is important, so you're going to want to change your irrigation throughout your garden, depending on what crops you're doing. So we had peas here before. Now we're going to be putting chard and beets here for the fall planting. So I put the irrigation about 6 inches off the garden bed here, and I'm going to plant rows on each side of the irrigation. The rows will be about a foot apart as you want enough space for the chard to grow to its full potential. Okay, so I tend to just use my hands here, and I just make these rows about a ½ an inch deep. And I just use my hands here, and I'm gonna go around a foot apart here. And then I'm gonna get my seeds. I'll show you what they look like here. They are actually cute little things. They're nice and big, so they're not too small like lettuce seeds. And then I end up just planting them kind of close together because I usually like to eat chard when it's baby leaves as well. And then you can thin the plants out, but it's better to have plants rather than have these huge gaps. So I space them, I would say about 1 or 2 inches apart here. Okay, so once you've done your rows of chard, I just scoot some soil over with my hand. Make sure the seeds are a 1/2 inch underneath the ground, and then I will pat it with my hand. Thanks for watching the video on chard. I hope that you'll add it to your garden plan next year, and I hope that you'll make some chard cakes. We have a whole video on how to do that. But for now, please like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. See you next time.